Hey guys, Ian here from Final Line Gaming, here to present to you the absolute massive space epic that is Mass Effect. Hang in there with me because this is going to be a long one. Now, with Andromeda releasing here within the next 2 weeks, I've decided to go about and try to review all 3 Mass Effect games before it comes out, so that you guys are caught up on how the previous games play out. And the best way for me to go about and do this is to review all 3 games separately, as opposed to doing all 3 games in one review. So there's a lot that we've got to cover with these games, so let's get started with first, the story. Now, Mass Effect is an action RPG developed by industry giant BioWare, a company that's well known really due to the success of other games in the RPG field, with everything from the Baldur's Gate franchise to Neverwinter Nights, and what was previously their best known game, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, all under their belts. Now, Mass Effect is ultimately their attempt at establishing their own universe. After having worked on Knights of the Old Republic, they really wanted to open up and do their own thing. And it really starts off with one of the best character customization systems that was released at that time. Now, with an incredibly immersive start, as it shows someone attempting to access Alliance files, as they get corrupted, you have to reconstruct your profile. Now, after you go about doing that and making your version of Shepard, who is the hero, it goes into the introduction, establishing the universe and your Shepard's place in it. As it starts to expand, it goes on and you get filled with the drive to learn as much about this new world you've discovered, and the game does a great job at facilitating this with some well-designed codex systems. Now, the codex systems allow you to play through the game, and they give you a codex entry that is fully narrated, helping you to learn what's going on in this new universe. But the storyline follows a fairly linear path until you become what's called a Spectre, which is a covert agent for the Citadel Council. After you reach this point, the game gives you multiple paths to follow and just sort of branches out. But I need to put an emphasis on can, because you don't have to go after the main story objectives right away. Instead, you can focus on the side missions, which are plentiful and fairly well-rounded. Unfortunately, as I played the side missions, it sort of detracted from the idea that I needed to stop Saren and the Reapers. Now, the Reapers are this merciless race of synthetic life that wiped out everything in the universe 50,000 years ago and are threatening to do so again. So the game does tend to fall a little flat while you're doing some of the side missions that require planetary exploration, where you're dropped into the world in the N-35 Mako, which is a sort of APC that drives like a drunken bastard trying to get home after emptying his wallet at the local dive bar. But after you complete some of the main missions, it goes back to giving you only one path to proceed further on in the story, and ultimately boils down to having a few main points you have to finish. Something that really feels more like a quest tree like Knights of the Old Republic, as opposed to the freeform campaign that I was expecting. Now let's really talk about one of the instances the game really shines, and that's in the characterization. While the first Mass Effect primarily concentrates on Shepard's changing dynamics as a character, there is also the dynamics of the squad mates, and while their AI is fairly useless, they constantly need attention, or they end up trapping you in some bad spots, and they cause a few fucked up deaths here and there. They are great characters, each with their own arcs and motivations. Whether it be the human soldier you save on Eden Prime, to the ruthless Krogan badass, the game truly makes you feel connected to the crew of the Normandy SR-1 as your Shepard helps to inspire true change in these characters. And now this is going to be the only spoiler I discuss here. Look at the annotation on the screen to know where to skip ahead if you don't want to hear spoilers on this nearly decade-old game. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Alright, there is a huge turning point in this game. Now, as you are setting out to destroy Saren's base of operations, you find out that not only is Saren's ship a ship, it is also a Reaper. And it's been controlling the minds of those who have been spending a lot of time around it, including Saren himself. It is there that the game not only drops that big-ass bomb, but it also makes you choose between 2 of your human squad mates and potential love interests. The game also has one of the most satisfying closing hours of any game I've played in a long time, truly wrapping up a lot of plot holes while still setting itself up for the next game in the series. But that's really as far as I want to get into the story, as I don't want to spoil any other good parts, so let's go ahead and move on to the sound design. Now sadly, the sound design in this game falls flatter than a poorly made pancake. The majority of the music in this game is bad techno, with little loops of bleeps and boops that do a truly poor job of leaving a good impression, with the exception of a few items such as the main Mass Effect theme. There is, however, a few other good parts in regards to the sound design. There is still an orchestral soundtrack that's made for specific parts of the game, such as this gem right here.
Commander Shepard, step forward. It is the decision of the Council that you be granted all the powers and privileges of the Special Tactics and Reconnaissance branch of the Citadel.
Spectres are not trained, but chosen. Individuals forged in the fire of service and battle. Those whose actions elevate them above the rank and file.
Spectres are an ideal, a symbol, the embodiment of courage, determination, and self-reliance. They are the right hand of the Council, instruments of our will.
Spectres bear a great burden. They are protectors of galactic peace, both our first and last line of defense. The safety of the galaxy is theirs to uphold.
You are the first human Spectre, Commander. This is a great accomplishment for you and your entire species.
I'm honored, Counselor.
We're sending you into the Traverse after Sarah. He's a fugitive from justice, so you are authorized to use any means necessary to apprehend or eliminate him.
But where it really takes off is with the voice acting. Now, BioWare has always had a great penchant for its voice acting talent, with a few mainstays such as Raphael's Barge, who is better known for his voice work as Cartho Nassi in Knights of the Old Republic, and even celebrity voice talent such as Seth Green, Keith David, and even Mila Kunis. Now, once more, it shows to help improve the characterization of various characters with providing such quality voice work. But what I've got to say is that some of the best voice acting in recent games has to be Jennifer Hale's performance as FemShep. Everything from her delivery to her timing is just so seamless, and it's the highlight of the voice cast. Last but not least is some of the environmental sounds. They really show the work that BioWare has put into this game, with some truly heart-pounding moments that are helped by the sound of your boots tearing across the terrain, and even the Mako has some great sound effects. Disappointingly, however, the guns still lack a good punch to them. They're truly just your standard of fare generic as hell gun noises, which is sad when you realize how much effort BioWare's poured into this game. But enough about the sound design, so let's get into the core bit of any game, and that's the gameplay. Now, when I say they made an action RPG, I really mean they made an RPG with real-time combat. But what I mean by that is that they poured a lot into the RPG elements of the game and a lot less into the action portion, and it really shows. Now, don't get me wrong, at the time of the release, it was an amazing leap forward in the genre, and a logical one, as Knights of the Old Republic had a turn-based system, and their release after that, Jade Empire, had a real-time melee system. So really, a real-time third-person shooting system was a no-brainer as the next logical step forward. Sadly, while I enjoyed the inclusion of the proper skill point system a lot more than the other Mass Effect titles, but the way they did their inventory and inventory management system was as clunky as the entire game of Ride to Hell Retribution. One of the big issues I had was actually with the weapons themselves. While they weren't necessarily samey, the way they handled the ammo is a lot different than others. Instead of normal ammunition systems we've come to expect from video games, instead they decided for some reason to use a system that makes your weapons overheat from prolonged fire, but where they truly dropped the balls with their inventory management, and it made a huge bundle of confusion as you tried to figure out what worked best as add-ons for your guns and armor. On a brighter note, however, you can not only choose the armor and weapons that you use, but also the weapons and armor that your ground team uses as well, something that's sadly absent from the later titles in the series. Now, I've already mentioned the bungle that was the Mako, but sadly that's not the only place the game really stumbles. Another big issues lie within your companion's AI. They have this constant feeling of having to babysit them, as they do not seek cover and they don't prioritize targets on their own. They simply follow your shepherd blindly as you make your way from encounter to encounter, making a lot of the tenser moments in the game feel more like a chore than an epic moment. Thankfully, they do attack and use their abilities without having to use commands, but unless you want to get stuck in a tight corner with a Krogan that'll end up killing you, you better take the time to actually order around your squad. Now, the difficulty is a topic all in its own, and instead of coming from puzzles like that dumbass encryption minigame, it comes more from a more linear style of difficulty. taking a slider and moving it back and forth on how much damage you take and how much damage you deal. That, mixed with the AI issue I discussed earlier, makes for a difficult game at times even on the lowest setting. And it doesn't help that this game has a piss-poor checkpoint system that necessitates the use of quick saves, but also falls victim to some graphical issues. The series, for some reason, it doesn't allow me to play it at 1080p, which is sad, because most PC games released, even back then, allowed 1080 as an option. I do, however, get 60 frames a second even on a lower end machine. Now the game is weirdly locked at 30 frames at some of the cinematics and 60 everywhere else, but even though I can't get the game to run at the resolution I want without messing with files, it's still graphically breathtaking. At times it does show its age, however, with the engine causing unnecessary pop-in and the technology used to show the emotions of the faces of characters in the game. It's also one of the areas where it does show its ass. It makes the characters feel robotic at times, but as smooth as I am on a Friday night at others. But on a better note, however, is that they went with a more cinematic look with the inclusion of bloom effects and film grain. The texture quality is just a seeming festival of amazing looking rides and games as you take your time to look at the various planets and ships. As well as the views on the Presidium and Citadel, after you get to look at those, you really do realize how exactly beautiful this game truly is. So to recap, Mass Effect helped to truly change everything we expected out of AAA releases at the time, and helped to set a new standard of what a great game really was. When you take everything from the voice acting to characterization, to the well-told story of Commander Shepard and his fight against both Saren and the Reapers, the highs hit you high, while the low points truly hit you low. And the turn of the game in the middle does really help to open your eyes as to what you expect to get out of the series. But again, no game is without its fault, and even the original Mass Effect does have some faults, some janky technology as well as the Mako sections, combined with the mismanaged inventory system that really does help to bring this game down. Now this game is not short if you take your time, and if you take your time, you get 25 hours of total gameplay. But taking the game as a whole, and I want to make sure it's represented as to how exactly this game is today, the original Mass Effect is an amazing game with a story that stands up, and you still want to learn as much as you can about the universe. This game earns its 8 out of 10, and at the current price of $8.99 for the entire trilogy on G2A, you are missing out if you don't pick this game up. Alright everyone, thanks for watching the video. I really do hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I loved making it. As always, don't forget to like the video if you liked it, hit dislike if you didn't, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and don't forget to have a splendid day.